back to my channel. I made a video on my experience at Old Navy about a year ago, and people have been asking me to make a number 2, and I've been meaning to for the longest time, so here it is. So about a week from my group interview, I came in for my second interview, and that was with a manager, one-on-one. It was about 20 minutes, it was super short, and I knew I got the job because she asked me in her office. She talked about availability, like you go over it again, and she complimented me on like my fashion style and just like stuff like that, like why she picked me, why I was a good candidate. We talked about my schedule for like a third time and just kind of like ironed out details, and she got to know me a little bit. She was like, oh, if you were on a soccer team, what position would you play? And if you were, how many after school activities do you do, and that type of thing. So she offered me the job, I walked out, and then about another week from then we set training dates, and this is training with everybody else that got hired in the group interview. With 4 people that I was with in the group interview, 2 of us got hired, so half of us got hired. We had about 4 training days, and they were all like in the same week, like they just go boom, 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 boom to get it out of the way. That's how it was for me at REI too, the job that I work at now. 6 hours, it was a pretty long training. I don't know if I got paid for it. This was my first job. I didn't check my bank account. I didn't know what to do, but I think you're supposed to get paid for it, but honestly, I don't know if I did. I don't know. So you talk about how to lift a box correctly for 30 minutes. I'm not even kidding. It's the most exciting thing ever. You talk about stealing. Old Navy has a really big problem with stealing. Most retail has a big problem with stealing, but Old Navy, I think, is kind of the king with that. So we talk about that a lot, and just a lot of safety and legal stuff that like you need to talk about that if you're an employer. You need to talk about it with your employees, no matter how boring it is. You need to bring your ID, social security, and you need to know how to sign a W-4 and some tax forms. This kind of stuff I can't really help you with. You might want to ask your parents for help on that, or look on Google. But like, hey, I need some help at like exactly what does this mean. If you need to ask for like help kind of in understanding it, that don't be embarrassed to do that, that's fine. And after about the 4 training days, then you start training alone. I came and trained alone with another level manager. Really quick note, really quick. In retail, there's normally layers of managers, and Old Navy is the exception where they have like 10 levels of managers. There's like a sales manager, there's a signage manager, there's a manager, there's a more bossy manager, and then there's like an assistant manager. There's a lot of managers. She was like, I think the sales lead manager, I'm not really sure, something like that. I trained with her about 3 full days, and they were about in the same week, but they work with your schedule a little bit more. You can't make it to a training date or a group training date or your second interview or something like that. Tell them. Don't say you can make it and then cancel last minute. That's, I have school, or I have something that I need to be like, is there any way I can reschedule that? And they will work with you. That's why they ask you. So I wanted to show you this. This book is all the laws and regulations and hotlines and things that you're supposed to call under harassment and kind of like company stuff. These are the training booklets that we did, and we did our homework in them, and we wrote on them, and we took notes in them. This is a little pamphlet of how different jeans fit, and you're gonna get a couple of these, and they make new ones, and they keep them behind registers and in the fitting room, and you can put them in your pocket. That will be your name. They call it their little like pet name. Welcome to how much they sell. Some. I'm not going to show you that because that's personal information. It's like we wrote down and they quizzed us to make sure we knew what we could wear and what we couldn't wear. The requirements. I don't think I really met this, but then your hours will suffer for it. When is the best time to talk to customers? Oh, there's a little quiz. I probably shouldn't show you that, but... And here is a short and quick and dirty guide to what you do in the fitting room. You're not going to do these a lot of the time. When it gets super busy, let's see. When it gets super busy, I would really only do ask if they need room and open a room and shove their clothes in there. That's really all I would do when they're super busy. So. There's a timeline of Old Navy history. Lots of history. Okay, wow. And all of this is going to be company policy. Again, like I said in the beginning, speak up if something isn't right. And the whole thing's kind of just legal stuff, black and white, pretty boring. And we've got political poster in the back. of their policies and like a fun way to remind you that this camera's not going to focus. That every applicant or employee is provided with a workplace that is free from harassment, discrimination, and retaliation. These that we were supposed to put on our lockers or keep them somewhere safe, but I didn't. And there will be more material that you're going to be handed to. Okay, so if you miss, I think, like one of the group trainings, it might be okay, but again, talk to your employer. With managers separately, 5-hour shift, and I was 17, so I had to have, every 2 hours I had to have a 15-minute break. It's different in every state, so I had to take more breaks and stuff. We had to fold like simple t-shirts and shorts, and we went through the girls section, and we kind of were ratting tables, ratting with 2 Ds. Ratting is when you fold clothing. Running is when you take clothing that is hung and go put it in places. Running and ratting are gonna be a lot of what you mainly do unless you're a cashier. Either you're gonna be running and ratting on sales floor, you're gonna be at cash wrap and you're gonna be a cashier, or you're going to be in the fitting room and you're gonna be putting the runnings, that's not what they actually call it, but you're gonna put the clothes that need to be run on a rack, and then you're gonna be cleaning in the fitting room and then greeting customers and showing up to rooms, but you're mainly gonna be in the fitting room zone area. She taught me how to fold jeans. It was mainly a lot of folding and hanging stuff and going by size, extra small to extra large. This color to that color. That's where we keep our jeans all the time, because Old Navy will always have a denim wall. It's always gonna be there. That's what they're known for. Clearance that's a little bit crazy. Oh, go pick up hangers, and that's what you're gonna be doing as a new person. They're gonna have you doing easy stuff, so don't stress out. And don't be super stressed out. You're not gonna remember everything. You're gonna have so many questions in the beginning, and didn't really know the store super well, but that's okay. But don't be afraid to ask a couple questions. You're gonna have a couple questions, especially if it's your first job, especially if it's not even your first job. Old Navy's kind of insane. Again, it depends on your location. So basic training, and then after that, I think I trained in fitting room, and that was like randomly like 3 weeks, I think, after that date of my first basic training. And then you also train on cashier, and that's supposed to be done 3 months from your hire date, but for me it was 6 months later. I was cashier trained like 6 months after. And I was worried that they weren't even gonna train me at all, and I was like, what's going on? But it was just really crazy, and they were hiring, firing, and stuff was going on all the time. So yeah. If you work at a really busy Old Navy, you'll see why things are normally pushed back. They'll have a schedule and they'll be like, oh, you're gonna get training on this day, and then it's like a month later and you're like, yo, what's happening? Am I not getting trained anymore? And they're like, oh, you should have reminded me you were supposed to be trained a long time ago. There's so many employees coming in and out. A lot of them are teenager staff, and a lot of them are part-time staff, and it's kind of like, I don't want to say unprofessional, but kind of. So I got trained later on cashier. Your dressing room, basic training, these will be separate days. It's not all crammed into 1 week or all into one day. It's kind of in the first couple months and weeks there, you'll train continuously. And if someone says, have you ever been trained on this? And if you've never been trained, tell them. Greeting every customer. I greeted every customer pretty religiously until I realized that nobody else really did. And then I did it anyway, because that what makes me an A+ student. No, just kidding. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you don't greet a customer, then they'll just be shopping in this section, or they'll be shopping near you. They won't ask you for help. They'll ruin all your displays. They'll leave. You won't get them to sign up for a credit card. They won't be an easy customer to check out. But if you greet a customer and if you establish that connection, they'll come to you later and be like, hey, can you get this size for me? And you're like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. They don't wreck your display that you just worked on for 40 minutes. That's the goal here. That's the end goal here. That I just folded. So that's what you want to do. And also, it is kind of weird if you're like working and you're not going to greet any customer that comes near you and they're like a foot away from you. That's weird. That's awkward. I've done that before when I was like sick with a sore throat and I didn't want to talk because I sounded sick. 6 to 10:30 is one of my basic shifts. That's a basic shift for a lot of part-time students that were in school. So in that shift, I would clock in at 6. I'd go to the punch-in clock. I'd punch in. I'd put my food in the fridge. I would put on my headset. I'd put on my name tag. I would maybe stop at the bathroom really quick. You're not really supposed to do that, I think, once you're clocked in. Your schedule posted near the time clock. So you would look at it and you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm in toddler girls. That was one of my favorite sections because it was normally really empty and really clean. Toddler girls. These are my break times. Everything's put there on your schedule. And you're also supposed to check papers there that say like sales that are going on and that type of thing. And that's kind of stressful because Old Navy has a sale like every freaking day. It's really annoying. Super cash and rewards sometimes that are going on, especially during peak season, during seasonal sales. You have to check all the sales and get caught up. And if you're someone who doesn't shop at Old Navy, and then it's kind of harder to keep up with it, but you'll survive. You'll find a way around it. You look at and you want to remember that, because in the beginning I would go out there and she'd be like, my manager would ask me like, oh, okay, Abby, let's talk really quick. So where are you based? What time is your break? What section are you working on today? And I'd be like, I don't remember. And sometimes I would say like, oh yeah, I didn't check, because I would just put my name tag on and my walkie and clock in, and then I'd walk out and I'd forget to check the board. Then I would head out to Toddler Girls. Let's keep it in that scenario. And I'd be in Toddler Girls and I would start like folding some tables, and you greet customers and you say like, can I help you with anything? If some customers look super capable, then you just back off, let them do their thing. It's like that mom that like charges in, grabs a onesie and charges out, and it's like, you're my hero, thank you. Would walk in and be like, hey, I'm in Toddler Girls 6:30 to close till like 10. You want me to touch up or something? And they'd be like, yeah. Or they would say no. And then I would head out, and I would head out to my section. Things vary. You're trained to do things very professionally in training, and you're trained to like always say when you're taking a break and when you're off break and when you're clocking in and when you're clocking out. But in real life, a lot of the time, it didn't really happen at Old Navy, and some managers were more strict about it than others. You're based in Toddlers, and they can swap what's happening with you. They can say, hey, I need you in fitting rooms now. Or this person canceled, can you come up and do cashier really quick? That's only if you're trained though, don't worry. Or can you make a stop and go check on that customer that's in men's? You're not based in men's, you're based in Toddlers, but guess what? Old Navy has like 12 sections, so you're going to be helping out. A lot of the time, they were not as staffed as we should be. I always told my mom, like, dude, honestly, we have so many sections in Old Navy. It would be 2 people on the floor, like 1 person at registers, 1 manager in the back, and that's it. And that's really bad. For a store that is that big and gets that much traffic, that's really bad. But that's what companies do to save on payroll. And we were always low in payroll. Morning shifts and night shifts are both pretty cool. It kind of depends what works with your schedule, obviously. I like night shifts sometimes because they were a little bit calmer and you just rad and fold. And it's kind of nice and more calming. But sometimes they were super crazy. Like if it's a Friday night or like a Thursday night during a sale, it might be super crazy. It kind of just depends. I quit because it was hectic. It was so crazy. They didn't staff us enough. Payroll was always low. Make it sound horrible. I did really like my time at Old Navy. Honestly, even now, I don't really have bitter memories of it. It was a crazy time and I regret it, and I did enjoy my time there. I don't regret quitting when I did. Attitudes were kind of bitter. My managers kind of got changed around and I didn't like the management as much. And other than management and scheduling it was time to move on. I didn't want to work in retail anymore. Ha ha ha, here I am still working in retail. I didn't want to work in retail like clothing anymore. I didn't want to be a manager, and I didn't want to work in fashion really, so I was kind of like, it's time to move on. A fourth reason is because, the biggest reasons actually, I felt it and on my mind and like just bugging me kind of when I first got hired, was that it's not ethical fashion at all. It's the very opposite of ethical fashion. What I mean by that is get people in trendy clothing, fast, push it out, sales, yay, consumerism, retail. I stuck at the job and I worked there for a year. But then when it was time to quit again, you know, a year later in the spring again, because I got hired in the spring, I was kind of like, you know what, I want to leave. I want to be away from this. It's consumerism, America, I love money. And chino shorts. Gross, just go for it.
No, but she said I don't listen to her when she talks, but really I don't care. I don't say anything back.
Oh, so you don't care?
No! Like, I care, but like, what